Hey, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Matters. I'm Erin Sanchez from CandidlyErin.com.
And I'm Yolanda from Why Social Marketing.
And you can find us here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Today, we want to jump from a topic that we touched on last week, which is when you are putting yourself out there to your network, or if you haven't started putting yourself out there yet and you're trying to drum up business, you're new, but you're scared to tell people that you know, especially I think it's worse with people you know than with strangers, to tell them what you're doing, that you're trying something new, that you're starting a business, that you're striking out on your own. Is that the experience you've had? Because it was definitely my experience. I was super scared to tell people.
Very much so with my first business, which had nothing to do with anything I did previously.
The safari business.
Yeah, my safari business was like really out there.
I love it though.
Yeah, I didn't rush to tell people about my safari business until I was well into it. It was a short business. I was only in there for about a year, but I think around about the 6-month mark, then I was more open about it with old colleagues, friends, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I didn't rush out to tell everyone. I think I was far more open and happier to share the news that I'd started Suite 532 and the same with Why Social Marketing, because it kind of just flowed naturally from what I was doing previously. So I think it's harder when you're doing something completely unexpected, when you take this giant leap of faith and you just do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's funny you say that because, I mean, it's different, I'm sure, being the person who took that leap. But I almost feel like nowadays, the way I see it is when somebody takes a leap and they do something really spectacular and unexpected in business, it's almost like I'm more like, oh yeah, they're legit, they're doing it. But if you're just doing something that lots of other people are doing, then it's kind of like I was always anticipating and sometimes did hear, well, there's so many people who do that. Well, there's so many, like, what makes you different, you know?
Yeah.
So I think about safari business and I think, yeah, real business. And then I looked at.
Well, remember that safari business in Africa is not something it's highly competitive.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So I did get that response. I did get but what do you know about the safari world? I mean, I got that a lot, and I got it from people I respected.
Oh, wow.
And I got it, yeah, you know what I mean? Like people who were doing really well in their own thing, but also people who were already in the safari business for decades were coming up to me and saying, what are you doing in this space?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And I think that is one of the fears that most of us confront, is like that kind of that judgment, right? Mm-hmm. Who are you to show up here? Yeah,
exactly. That's the biggest one for me. When I started writing, I started doing some consulting. It was like, it felt like a pipe dream, because especially with writing, I grew up, and I think a lot of people grow up hearing like the starving artist.
Yeah.
You can't make a living with your writing. I actually left a contract at a big corporation, and my manager at the time, who I love, he's a wonderful guy, and he was saying it sort of tongue in cheek, but he said, "Oh, so you're quitting corporate so that you can be broke all the time?" Like that was his kind of, and he was joking, and he's a very nice person, but I thought, man, this is really hard to tell people what you want to do when you know that it's going to be a bunch of naysayers, people making you question whether it's possible. So that was a huge fear for me, to tell people what I was doing. But it's essential if you want to start building business, because as you and I talked about last week, a lot of your initial business can very easily come from the people you already know.
Yeah. And it does. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, in my case, for example, I didn't actually get business. Well, with the safari business, it kind of did work out eventually that people that I knew were coming on safari.
Yeah.
But with my marketing and my coaching business, certainly people started, when see, when people are impressed by people who are doers. Like if you're a go-getter and you just do it, and that's what I found. People like, they kind of doubt you when you're talking about it, but when they see you doing it, their whole attitude shifts, and then they start having faith in you. And that's what I noticed. And people that I worked with previously and dealt with started referring work to me. But they have to see that you are doing what you say you can do. And
that's a very good point. And I think it's kind of just across the board, even if it's, and this is like kind of a rabbit trail, so I won't go too far down it, but it's like, even for getting new clients who aren't, if it's not about your fear of telling people what you do, just getting new clients, they want to see that you're doing the work. Like you can, if you're sit down, do the work. And I talk about this all the time, do the work. You're going to show the people that you know personally that you're really doing it, and you're going to show potential clients that you're really doing it. So
that's when I noticed. That's when I noticed the shift, is when people started noticing that I was 100% doing what I said I was going to do, that I was showing up and speaking about marketing and basically just sharing my knowledge. That's when they started backing me, right? Like, now we believe in you and what you're doing. A lot of people out there who are not getting the referrals and not getting the support from their family, their friends, their old colleagues, are the people who are not doing enough of that work, of that showing up.
And I think that's an important distinction to make, is people might be thinking, well, how do I do the work if I don't have any clients? Doing the work means show up, write blog posts, do videos, start posting on your social media, right? Like, do something that's starting to just position you as an expert in the space, that you know what you're talking about and that you're qualified to do this for people, and they'll start paying attention.
I mean, look at what we're doing, right, Erin? I mean, we are averaging maybe 12, 20 views if we're lucky. Hopefully many more. But right now we have very low, like the viewership is 10 people or whatever it is. And a lot of people look at that. So they'll put a video out there on YouTube, or they'll do a Facebook Live or whatever, and they say, okay, only 2 people watch this, so now I'm going to give up. That is the worst thing to do, because someone who is always out there checking up on you, like it could be an old colleague that could come out from the blue, that could just come and check, and if they see you, wait a minute, Erin's serious, you know what I mean? Erin is showing up here every week. That's how it works.
It's the consistency. Trust is built. Trust is built with consistent actions over time. And that's what you need to convert somebody. So absolutely, I agree. And I mean, we talked about it privately, is, sometimes when you put stuff out there, you will lose people, or people will show their true colors. But eventually, even if it's dipping, like it's going to be on the upswing again if you keep at it. So don't let the dips and the people who are questioning you, eventually they're going to go. And I hate to use, it's very cliche, but it's what a lot of people I know in the business world tell me, is there were the people who were the biggest naysayers before. Once they become really successful, they want to come back and say, remember that time we were such good friends when, right? That's a whole other conversation, but
yeah. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of this, especially on social media, time and time again. Just write it down somewhere, remind yourself, it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality of people that are showing up for you. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 200. If those 2 people that keep showing up for you if they keep showing up, it's because they're really interested. Those are quality, like potential clients, subscribers, whatever the case may be. And just treasure those. Treasure the 2, treasure the 20, treasure the 200, treasure the 2,000, and so on and so forth.
People aren't watching your videos to do you a favor. They like what you're. Yes.
Who has the time, right?
No. No, I think that's probably the number one tip for people, if you're afraid to put yourself out there, number one, do the work, and then you're going to start feeling more like an expert. People are going to start seeing you more in that light. And number two, it's so much easier said than done, but I think you just have to tune out the naysayers and really listen to, I know I can do this, like I know I'm good at this, and it just takes time and it takes showing up consistently. And number three, I'll just tack on there, is get some friends who do support you,
because those people exist. They're out there.
Yes.
They're out
we
there.
are an example of that for one another.
And just remember that often the naysayers are coming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
They're often, they're fearful. They wish they could do the same thing, but they don't have, they're just not at that right. I want to say they don't have the kahunas.
Yeah. Yes.
They don't have the confidence, the boldness to do it. But there's also other issues. They might not feel, worthy enough or knowledgeable enough. So just keep showing up, sharing your knowledge.
Yeah. And see, this is where I was saying we could go on, but and I'm not trying to have the last word, but you said something very important, which I've seen other people talk about, which is if it's a loved one who's the naysayer, a parent, a partner, maybe it's because they truly are worried. They care about you. They love you. They don't want to see you hurt. They don't want to see you fail. It's not because they don't believe in you. They just want to protect you. Yeah. So when you can look at it through that lens, I think it can help, where you're just like, I know you have the best of intentions, but it's not helping me,
Well, so true. There you go. So they come from a place either of fear or of love.
Yeah.
And just be,
for sure.
Discerning of who it is that you're listening to, who you're paying attention to.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, great tips. I know it's something that I struggled with, like you said, you struggled with. So hopefully this helps you if you are struggling with putting yourself out there, telling people what you do, if you're striking out on your own. If you need help, you're just getting started growing your email list, we have a freebie, 15 proven ways to grow your email list. You can grab that down below, and we'll see you next time.
And please subscribe.
Yes, and please subscribe so we can, go from 17 viewers to 25.
Thank you.
Bye.